President Trump, since last year, has been proposing real immigration reform that will close illegal loopholes, that will end these family separations, that would ensure that we secure our border. We are simply enforcing the law, and that law is if you come in as an illegal adult, you will be prosecuted as a criminal.
The immigration debate reaching a boiling point as outrage mounts over family separation at our border. President Trump heading to the Hill today ahead of crucial House votes on immigration bills. So how can we find common ground? We are back again with our panel. Thank you all for being here. I want to see a show of hands. Who wants to make sure that these parents and their children do stay together? All of you, five of you. You don't feel that way. Sitting on the front row is Wendy Hartling. You lost your daughter. She was 25 years old 3 years ago. The anniversary was 4 days ago. And we talk about these families being separated, but you're separated from your daughter forever. What happened?
She was a great girl. She was stabbed 15 times by an acquaintance and then shoved in a closet, and for no reason.
So
there was no reason.
And this was an illegal immigrant deported 3 times?
He was supposed to be deported 3 times. He had spent 17 years in jail for attempted murder. He got acquitted for murder of the boy, and he got attempted murder for the girlfriend. And one of his cellmates told during the trial, said that he said, I got away with it before, I'm going to get away with it again.
So why don't you want families reunited, the kids reunited with parents?
That's not really what I mean. I don't want to see them separated, but if they do it the right way, they wouldn't have to be separated.
Right.
That's what of course, it makes me very sad to see those children in those refugee camps or whatever you call them.
Of course.
But there's a right way to do it.
Okay. Chuck, sitting behind you. Chuck, your grandparents were immigrants to this country. You're a Democratic strategist. You're from Texas. You see Ted Cruz. He wants to reunite these families and make sure that the parents and the kids are together. We had one guest on earlier who is who's the director of ICE, Mr. Honan, and he said that it's the parents' fault. Do you agree with that?
I don't. I think a lot of these parents are coming here trying to save their children. They're coming from war-torn areas, and they see us as a beacon of hope. Sure, everybody would love for them to do it the right way, in quotation, but they're showing up trying to save their kids' lives. They want to be here to try to seek refugee status. And I see Ted Cruz as somebody who's worried about re-election happening in 6 months and Beto O'Rourke giving him a race of his life. So, again, turning it into politics. But we've been waiting for Ted Cruz to fix this problem for a long time. And Republicans control the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the White House. The Democrats ain't in control of nothing, so don't put this on the Democrats.
Well, Chuck, I think we all have a heart for the kids, but we heard the president earlier saying that these folks could be murderers. Some of them are. Some of them, you know firsthand. Some of them are thieves, he said. So, Patrick, I'll go to you because you live in Long Island, Nassau County Police Commissioner, where those girls were brutally murdered by MS-13, young teenagers walking home, and their parents couldn't even barely recognize their girls because they were attacked with a machete. So why are these laws so important to you?
The immigration, when it's not an immigration issue as it is so much an MS-13 issue, when we look at Nassau County, there's about 500 MS-13 members, 250 are active, and then you go out to Suffolk County, there's other larger numbers. The problem is that when you have these kids like the unaccompanied minors, and they drop them into these homes, I understand that they're trying to protect these children, but what they're not doing is including us in the process. If we were there, we would vet the homes out to make sure that the kids there, the homes they're putting these kids into are safe homes, and then we can also monitor their care to make sure that they're taken care of and not pulled into the gangs.
All right. Michael Wilds is sitting behind you, immigration attorney. You represent Melania Trump. You helped her get into this country, her parents and her sister as well. So what exactly does happen to these kids? How do we ensure that they're safe until they're reunited with their parents? And when are they reunited?
So first, thank you for having me. The inhumanity of what we're seeing in separating goes against the very ethos of our founding documents and fathers. Children are separated because this president has decided that he's going to hold the letter of the law. He's going to put people first into the federal criminal system. When a parent is introduced to the federal criminal system, by certain consent decrees, children have to then be placed in the Health and Human Service Division, and they're quarantined until the parents come out. If they're given a credible fear interview for asylum, if they have remedies, if they've re-entered the United States after being deported, there are different kinds of dispositions. In the end, it's really a matter of priorities. When our founding fathers fought the pirates on the high seas, we didn't lose the moral compass of what it is to be America. When we're dealing with this challenge, we should not be quarantining our children from parents. The inhumanity of what we see is reminiscent of detention centers, of Nazi Germany, of the slave trade. We can do better when we try to figure out this problem. And let's not forget, this problem needs to be fixed because the greatest risk takers and the greatest entrepreneurs historically have been immigrants in this country.
David, Fox News contributor, you're shaking your head. We heard Michael Hayden.
I am offended.
Okay.
Okay, Michael, you actually sat here and pulled the Michael Hayden, Birkenau, other comments about concentration camps, Auschwitz, Mogilev, and then go to the slave trade? Well, really? This is the problem that we have. The Democrats, largely, Republicans to blame in their own part, play the emotion, the over-the-top, and the hyperbole game and draw this rather than talking about how we solve. This is a facet of a much larger issue. And this is where you choose to go with it on national television. It's disgusting, frankly. Let's talk about solutions when you're ready, Ainsley.
All right, let's go to Jose, who's sitting in front of you. Jose Magana Salgado. He's a DACA recipient and a managing policy attorney. Congratulations. What a degree. That's wonderful. As a DACA recipient, too. My gosh, you're great. President had a plan for DACA, and it didn't pass. And Democrats, he says, obstructed. Do you agree with that? And what is the solution?
You know, I think President Trump has his heart in the right place and wants a solution. 76% of the American public, including 63% of Republicans, want a roadmap to citizenship for dreamers. But we don't want that at the expense of family immigration. You know, President Trump campaigned as being pro-legal immigration. He wanted to build a big, beautiful wall at our nation's border. But the legislation in Congress right now would drastically reduce family immigration. Both the panelists next to me are byproducts of family immigration. We were actually talking about that earlier. And I want people like them to be able to continue to come to this country and make America great.
I'm wondering why these families, knowing that they're going to be separated, or that is a possibility if they get caught, why they're going that way instead of the right way and going through and seeking asylum. You want to answer that, Michael?
Of course. And again, the visual is what really offends me, David. The truth is that people have options, but the broken laws that we have are so dated. To get asylum or refugee status, you have to go through the UN. It will take you years to go through that process. And it doesn't license somebody to come to our border and come in illegally. But the truth is the circumstances have not improved. Look, if people resettle in neighboring countries from El Salvador, Guatemala, if they go to Mexico rather than the United States, there are arguments that the United States should be working with other neighboring countries to avert the families coming on U.S. soil. But the process we have, whether it's employment-based immigration, whether it's investment-based, or just your usual family migration, takes years. They call it chain migration, but really the beautiful concept of family reunification, it could take 15 years for somebody to come to the United States through the lawful process. I'm not saying that the unlawful process is a short circuit, but our laws are dated. Even President Reagan, rest his soul, years ago gave amnesty to 3 million people that were unlawfully present in the United States. We're well beyond 12 million, and we have to fix this. Our homeland is at risk because of those 12 million people that are in the United States as well if we don't get this right.
All right, Commissioner, I'll give you the last word. What's your advice to everyone at Capitol Hill that's making a decision this week or next week?
Politics aside, we got to remember there's good communities out there. When we look at MS-13, they're a violent group. They're a very small percentage of our communities. We have good, thriving communities, especially the Hispanic community growing in Long Island. And we got to remember that it's more than just the laws and strict interpretation. We have to look at these families for what they are. And a lot of them are good, hardworking people.
Chuck, David, Michael, Wendy, Jose, and Patrick, thank you so much for being with us. Well, today is